Hey folks, Troy Dooley, and it's exciting because we just get to meet all kinds of personalities here at the Lyoness event in Orange County. And you know, I go to a lot of different events and you meet a lot of different people, but every now and then you'll meet somebody who just their personality alone will cause you to stop and say, man, I got to check this out. And Kim Simsby, did I get that right?
You got it right.
That's amazing right there. You know, it's not like you've been here forever. I mean, you've been here about 20 months now.
Yep.
Your success, I mean, your team is growing. It's just like your shirt, team, team, team. You really do. I mean, that's what you live for, is the team. Share a little bit about your background and what brought you to Lyoness.
Yeah, I'll be happy to, Troy, and thanks for having me here. You know, I was actually born and raised in Copenhagen, Denmark, and got my degree in marketing, worked in the corporate world for places like Fiat and Sony, and I immigrated to the U.S. in the mid-1980s, and shortly after that was introduced to this somewhat strange animal called network marketing.
That it is.
And I got to tell you, in the beginning, I really didn't understand it, but I was fortunate enough to team up with some people that had been very successful. Okay. So I learned the basics very early on, and going on 3 decades now in the industry. I've had the good fortune of hitting some pretty significant home runs, actually about 4 of them. So I haven't jumped around a whole lot. In 2009, I sold my distributorship in a company that I've been with for 10 years, where I was one of the top income earners. Okay. And since then, I've really just been doing a few smaller consulting gigs and try to kind of figure out what I was going to do when I grew up, you know. And
I'm still doing that.
Part of it was kind of interesting because getting to step away from being a distributor and Sure. kind of, you know, getting out of the forest, so to speak, it gave me a different perspective on the industry. And please don't take this the wrong way, because there are certainly other good network marketing companies.
You bet.
But from my perspective, in North America, it's an industry in severe chaos, okay. with so many new companies, and everybody's got the latest greatest this or that or whatever. So for me personally, it just didn't feel like I belonged there anymore. And okay. all of a sudden, here comes Lyoness. And it was actually my wife that found it. Initially, I didn't understand this. I remember kind of looking over.
Well, I'm in good company then.
Yeah. I remember looking over her shoulder in our office, and she says, "You got to come see this." And I look at it, and to me, it looked like an online shopping thing.
Sure.
And I'm like, "Yeah, honey, that's okay. That's a cute little thing if you want to do that." And that was about as far as it went. And then over a period of several months, it was like it just kept on coming back in front of us, coming back into our lives. And finally, during the Christmas holidays, 2011, 2012, she convinced me to sit down and really look at the details. And the more I looked behind the curtain, the more impressive this was. And if there's, out of everything that I've experienced with Lyoness, the most powerful thing to me, because having been around the industry for as long as I have, I've done a lot of presentations. And let's face it, those of us that are in front of the room doing trainings, presentations, if we're halfway decent, we can make anything sound good.
That's true.
You know?
That's true.
Quite often, though, what happens to the prospect when they get involved is kind of like 90 to 120 days down the road, they're scratching their head going like, man, I wish I'd known that back then.
Absolutely. And
the most exciting thing to me with Lyoness, although it may seem complex when you first look at it, or in your words, sophisticated. It's actually rather simple, but it just is very different. And what I've experienced is the more people learn about this, the more excited they get.
I've seen that.
Exactly. You know, it's like I don't quite get it all, but they get a little bit more, they get a little bit more, and the picture just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, rather than, oh, I wish I'd known, you know. Sure.
And that is different, because when we get excited about a company, very few people that I've met, and I mean, I've got 30 years here, were drawn to the company because of the product. They were drawn because of a presentation, a person's personality, maybe the comp plan. Here, the underlying excitement seems to be, hey, I can save money on my shopping. Is that what drew your wife to it?
Oh, totally. Yeah, initially she didn't, neither one of us knew there was a big business behind this. She just thought it was kind of a cool thing, you know. And I mean, little did we know. And I think probably one of the biggest misconceptions, especially amongst people within the network marketing industry, they think that Lyoness is just a front for the shopping is a front for some kind of a recruiting game.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean that was my first. I mean when I looked, it's like, this is weird. That's what I thought, but it isn't.
No, and to me, that's been actually the most impressive thing that I've come to learn about this whole thing. I was fortunate enough to be invited back to Austria with about 300 of the top people from all over the world.
Wow.
They flew us into Austria in June of this year for 10 days. And yeah, I mean, it was a lot of work and seminars, and we learned a lot about the company. Probably the coolest thing for me was we happened to be sitting downtown Vienna on a Sunday afternoon at a cafe, and one of the guys that was with us pulled up on his smartphone the Lyoness app and did a loyalty merchant search where it shows you how many stores accept Lyoness.
Right.
And within just whatever a few miles of where we were sitting, 890 stores popped up in this loyalty merchant search. Wow. So what it did for me, it's almost like I got to see the future in advance. And I remember when I was doing my research on this and I talked to some of the top income earners in Europe and they tried to explain this to me, I still didn't quite grasp it. But then I've seen it in my own organization here in the US, even though we don't have the infrastructure that they have in Europe yet, which is obviously what the opportunity is about. We get to lay in the infrastructure of members and merchants. And I remember I was in Lubbock, Texas about a month and a half ago. I did a meeting out there. And towards the end of the presentation, a gentleman stands up in the back of the room and he says, I just want to let you know that I just went to Tucson to buy a new pickup truck. Just so happens we have a new car dealership that became a Lyoness loyalty merchant. And if you're not part of Lyoness, you would think, who in their right mind goes from Lubbock, Texas to Tucson, Arizona to buy
I was just thinking
a truck?
that, yeah.
Yeah. Well, because he had learned about this program and the loyalty part of it. So he went and bought a $31,000 pickup truck. And because of the way the Lyoness benefits they work, a pretty significant amount of money of that is going to come back to him.
So I got to make sure I get this right, because I know the viewers are going to wonder this. Guy's in Lubbock, finds out that there's an SME, I think that's what you call it,
Yeah.
in Tucson.
Correct.
So he decides to buy his truck through the $31,000.
Yep.
And because he bought it through an SME, there's cash back that comes to him.
Cash back and loyalty benefits.
So no matter, I mean, I don't know how much it's going to be, but it could pay for his taxes or whatever else, even the gas that he, which I'm sure if he's crazy enough to go to there, he's probably using a card of yours to get his gas. And
Right.
this is really could be addictive after a while.
It's the most brilliant concept I've ever seen. And yes, it takes a little while to really grasp it, but it's like once that dime drops, it's like, oh my gosh.
Okay, and then let me ask you a question as a consultant and somebody that's been around the business. I guess that wouldn't be seen as internal consumption because the money's going through third parties and you're making some money back, but that's kind of the first time I've ever seen somebody actually using their own product and making money off of it.
Without a doubt. And within the entire network marketing industry, let's face it, 90% of the product movement is exactly what you described, internal consumption, right?
Absolutely.
It's people on their auto ship, and most of them don't spend another dime other than what they have to. Not that there's anything wrong with that, right? But that's the way the system works.
Some companies who got great products,
sure,
people will buy a lot of products, but the majority, they're just qualifying for the money.
Exactly, and there's very little retail sales going on.
Sure.
I mean, it's the nature of the beast. This is all outside purchases. I don't have to convince you to buy my niche product because it's better than what you're using.
Right.
I'm telling you, keep buying what you're doing. More often than not, buy it where you're already buying it.
Now, see, that makes my mind go because it's almost way back to the original Amway philosophy, you know, of just let's remove your money, let's shift it, let's get you a better product. Now you can save money on what you're doing. And you guys have really, after all these years, kind of brought that back to the surface, it seems like.
Yeah, with one little twist. I'm not telling you that you got to buy my Amway product.
That's the interesting part about it right there. It's like, wow.
That's right. I'm telling you, go get your haircut where you get your haircut. Go buy your car where you buy your car. Now, obviously, I'm projecting out in the future a little bit because we're still creating that.
Well, you guys are still babies right here.
Yeah, but that's the model. And when I started, we had 4 gift cards on online shopping. The Lyoness cashback card wasn't even accepted here yet.
Wow.
That didn't come on board until I think it was about October of last year.
You know what? I remember that because that was one of the first concerns I had was who the heck cares about this card that nobody's ever heard of? But yet now I'm seeing it starting to catch on.
Oh, big time. And probably one of the things that sold me more than anything else was when we launched that whole part of the business model.
Right.
We had a big event in Las Vegas, and after 2 days of training and people got excited about the concept of Lyoness, we had some of these new SMEs, the small local merchants, parade on stage and talk about their experience.
Right.
And I'm not kidding you. We had grown men crying on stage saying that Lyoness had prevented their business from going bankrupt within as little as 90 days as being part of the company.
These are the merchants.
These are the merchants.
Which goes back, shoppers, you, merchants.
Correct.
Wow, man. That's unbelievable right there.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's it. I mean, that's the backbone of America is the small business.
Totally.
Yeah.
The real thing that drives Lyoness is the local hair salon, nail salon, car repair shop, mom and pop restaurant. That's the driving force of this.
See, I wouldn't even believe that had I not come here and been to the the opening last night.
Right.
Because there's these caterers out there, and they're SMEs.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and I talked to them, and they big smiles would come on their face.
Right.
And say, you know, this was just the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
The actual change in our business has been so phenomenal because we're now members
Right.
of the SME program.
Right.
And I didn't get, I mean, I went to Miami and they showed it all to me, but until I actually had that live experience with somebody that's just, they don't care about building a network marketing business. They just
Correct.
cared about their dreams of owning their company.
Correct.
It made me realize how real that was because I didn't until then.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, if you look at the makeup of our membership base, I don't know percentage-wise, but I would venture to say it's a heck of a lot lower percentage of people that are so-called network marketers than anything I've ever seen.
You know, I think the biggest problems that Lyoness has faced from a public relations standpoint in America has been that small minority, those networkers that never understood the business model. Yeah. Because that's all I saw. When I first started investigating, I saw the traditional networkers doing the traditional stuff networkers do, and I'm sitting there thinking, okay, this has got to be weird. This is a scam. This is something, you know. And if it hadn't have been for rock stars that I know in the business that were really building this differently, you know, and me saying, okay, I'm just going to listen. I'm going to watch. You know, we're going to take a neutral stance, if you will, that caused me to realize there really was a business model. Yep. Because until then, because of the way some people promote their business, Kim, I didn't. I thought it was a flash in the pan type deal.
Yeah, and I understand that, you know, and that's why I mentioned before the experience that we had in Austria. You know, it's not unusual when you walk into a small local store that you see on the window, Visa, MasterCard, Lyoness, right? So, I mean, it's everywhere, and it will become a household name, there is no doubt. With what? Go ahead.
No, I think you're right on that, and I love what you've shared, but I got to ask you, you making any money?
The answer is yes, we're definitely making money, and not only are we making money, but, and this might sound strange because I have been successful in the network marketing industry, this is the first time in 3 decades that I know, it's not just something I believe, I know that it will not go away. Now, I can't say that about what I've experienced before. Again, I'm not knocking any other companies out there.
Understand.
Most of them seem to have a certain lifespan, and then they kind of peter out. And if the company is big enough and good enough, the company will survive, but the distributors, they typically have to go elsewhere to start over. That will never happen here, just because of the sheer makeup of the business model.
I can see that because from the consumer side, you know, just if I just leave out the SME for a minute and just look at the consumer side, it's actually more of that party plan model where you've got so many people that love the product because the company was built around, whether it's Mary Kay, Simsby, I don't care what it is, you know, they just have girls that say, let's have a party because we want more free stuff. Correct. And here I see people saying, hey, let's go shopping because we get free stuff. You know, I mean, it's the same kind of concept.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the word no-brainer is so overused, I think, in our industry, but you really don't have to think a whole lot about this one here. And the more merchant, that's another thing that's exciting to me. Lyoness will only be better tomorrow than it is today. And what I mean by that, it's totally an upward spiral.
Yeah.
The more merchants we get, the more members we're going to attract. The more members we get, the more merchants are going to want to come on board.
I can see that. That's the unique thing about it. Hey, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, how do they get a hold of you?
Facebook, Kim Simsby, Simsby.
Okay. What's some parting words you can give people?
If you've ever wanted to link up with what I call the real deal, and what I mean by that is a company with a proven track record, 10 years in business, 150,000 points of acceptance, 160 million products and services. Guys, this is not a test. I mean, we don't have to worry about whether this is going to be here tomorrow or not. So if you are looking for that stability, yet in a marketplace where it's still virtually unknown in North America, this is it for sure.
Man. Kim, I appreciate it, buddy.
Thank you.
Very much. Folks, there you got it. I mean, it just seems like the people that we meet at Lyoness, they're not just people that have gotten here by accident. There's been a system, and almost every one of them, it goes back to shopping. You know, that's been the key. So we're going to keep investigating. We're going to keep watching. Live life like it's an epic adventure. Stay dangerous, stay strong, and if you're in network marketing, act like it.